2015 and 2019, and causing per capita GDP to fall nearly 75% from $4,322 in 2014 to $1,120 in 2025. The surge in non-oil revenue has been driven by a combination of tax reforms, administrative improvements, and policy measures, including a value-added tax increase from 5% to 7.5% and the centralization of oil and gas revenue under Executive Order 9, which boosted remittances of royalties by over 200 billion naira in February 2026. Meantime, publicly quoted fuel marketing companies recorded a sharp decline in profitability in 2026, with earnings indicators falling by between 60 and 70%, highlighting the growing challenges in Nigeria's rapidly transforming downstream and petroleum sector. This was disclosed in the Nigeria's Energy Downstream Industry Report 2025, which noted that the sector, despite undergoing a historic transition driven by local refining and full deregulation, is facing intense financial pressure from competition, rising costs, and market volatility. It attributed the development to intense price competition, depressed marketing margins, rising borrowing costs, and higher logistics and operating expenses, which collectively placed significant pressure on marketers' financial performance. The report themed Resilience and Transformation, Nigeria's downstream sector in the era of local refining, provides a comprehensive assessment of the industry's shift from an import-dependent system to a refinery-driven supply chain. It noted that the commencement and scale-up of operations at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery marked a turning point in the country's petroleum value chain, fundamentally altering supply dynamics. It added that local refining had begun to displace imported refined petroleum products, easing long-standing supply bottlenecks and reducing Nigeria's exposure to volatile international fuel markets. Findings showed that while consumers benefited from improved product availability and supply stability, marketers bore the brunt of the transition as deregulation intensified competition and compressed margins. The report explained that under a fully deregulated regime, market-driven pricing has fundamentally reshaped retail and wholesale fuel transactions, making the downstream sector more responsive to supply dynamics, but significantly more volatile. Now, Flutterwave Incorporated, a payments technology company, said it has secured a banking license which will enable the company hold funds and deposits directly. Olubenga Agbola, founder and chief executive officer of the firm, announced the development in a statement. He said, by operating with direct infrastructure, Flutterwave can streamline their operations and accelerate payment flows for everyone. According to him, the milestone allows the company to make their infrastructure more efficient and deliver faster, more reliable financial services. Agbola described the approval as a pivotal milestone in the company's 10-year journey to build the financial infrastructure that will power Africa's future. Oil extended gains on Tuesday as a U.S. imposed deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or be taken out approaches. Donald Trump threatened to order attacks on Iranian bridges and power plants to rain hell on Tehran if it fails to comply with its deadline of 8 p.m. Tuesday to reopen the strait. About a fifth of the global oil supply is normally shipped through the strait. Exports from several Gulf producers have already collapsed due to restricted flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Brent crude futures rose 1.6% to $111.51 a barrel by 5:30 GMT, while US West Texas intermediate crude futures were up 3.1% at $1115.86. Tehran rejected a ceasefire and said a permanent end to the war was necessary and pushed back against pressures to reopen the strait. Iranian forces effectively shut the strait after US and Israeli attacks began on February 28. The UN Security Council is expected to vote on Tuesday on a resolution to protect commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, but in significantly watered-down form after veto-wielding China opposed authorizing force, diplomats say. And that's a wrap on business news. Do remember to stay tuned for News Track at 2 p.m. Have a wonderful day.